huge honor to be here today as we celebrate nearly a decade of work along the Green Line and to mark the official sunset of the Central Corridor Funders Collaborative. No, money is not drying up and going away, just in this particular form. Back in 2007, while we had visions, goals, and dreams, I don't think we could have predicted that where we'd be today. We couldn't have predicted, most likely, that the powerful local advocacy, coupled with a new president and federal transportation administration, would lead to national policy change, making it a no-brainer to add 3 stations at Western, Victoria, and Hamlin. We didn't know that our collective efforts to support minority and women workers and businesses on the Green Line construction would create tools, processes, and practices that would be used to help U.S. Bank Stadium beat its even higher goals for minority hiring and minority business utilization. We were actually very thrilled when we learned in 2009 that the Federal Livability Partnership, made up of HUD, who's here today, DOT, and the EPA, joined together to help communities nationwide improve access to affordable housing, increase transportation options, and advance economic opportunity. And that we were ready to leverage our work with the Funders Collaborative to create the regional corridors of opportunity. Some days it was hard to imagine how so many small businesses were going to make it through. And in the end, most every business that was assisted by the U7 team survived construction, and many have gone on to make substantial investments in their buildings. But all of this and more has happened because people in this room caring about a vision of the Green Line and knowing that it is about the community and not the community.
We're not going to have panel presentations. We're not going to have PowerPoints. We're just using this stage to bring up a set of remarkable individuals who brought their leadership, their vision, and their tenacity to give us a Green Line where the remarkable assets of our neighborhoods are being celebrated and invested in. We're seeing this in places like Little Mekong, the Bridges of Rondo, the Victoria Theater, Little Africa, the Creative Enterprise Zone, the University Avenue Innovation District, and the West Bank. This is a Green Line where more than 3,500 affordable units have been preserved or created. And it's a Green Line where new parks and privately owned public spaces are emerging along the corridor every year, and businesses are continuing to invest in exterior improvements.
You can kind of break down the Central Corridor in a couple different ways. You can break it down in what we can do today that we weren't able to do 10 years ago. You can live in an affordable housing unit on the corner of Hamlin and University. You can drink surly beer till you get sick. You can still listen to NPR. You can still go to the University of Minnesota. But the fact of the matter is, we did learn the lessons of Rondo. We did do this differently, and we did build a community, not just a thing to commute on. I love that distinction. But my favorite image and my favorite memory of that whole process was the day that it opened. And I'm not talking about the gale force winds that came and ripped every tent and every station apart. I'm talking about standing on the platform at University in Victoria. A platform that was not originally slated to be, but that was there on opening day. And I stood with Charles Crutchfield. I stood with Marvin Anderson. I stood with the Sons of Rondo. And we celebrated together that we had built a transportation system, and we had built a community that works for all, that was for all. And I will never forget that moment where we could stand together and say, we did it, folks. We did it. You all did it with us. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey.
I just have to tell you that my favorite moment since building Central Corridor was being able to hop on the line. Well, I hopped on, he didn't quite, but with my father-in-law, Melvin Whitfield Carter Sr., from Episcopal Homes to downtown at Union Depot, and to share in a moment that he thought he would not see.
It was the privilege of our professional life to be invited to do this work beyond the rails. It was a privilege to be asked and to be trusted by Mayor Coleman to do this work, as we called it, the St. Paul Way, with inclusion and respect. We knew that he was placing in our hands the city that he loved and that failure was not an option. We were given an opportunity to right a historic wrong. Along with our colleagues at the county, state, metropolitan council, federal level of government, we were given a second, or maybe by now it was a third or fourth or fifth chance. Ultimately, sharing power wasn't an abstraction on the Central Corridor. It was very real. And it was very real because the Funders Collaborative supported those, I was going to say people who were powerless, but they supported people whose power came from their grit and determination and their willingness to get up every day and work very hard. The funders helped not only to amplify their voices, but to invest in change.
Anyone been to the Little Mekong Night Market? So that's coming back July 23rd and 24th. And last year we drew over 15,000 people to the Western Avenue station. Now, I don't think anybody ever imagined that 15,000 people would want to come to Western Avenue. But we've been really excited about this project, and we're coming back. We're increasing our footprint. And what that's meant for small businesses is that micro businesses who are not equipped to enter the traditional economic development opportunities and market have been able to bring their ideas and test it out during this one weekend festival.
Before we let you go, we're going to bring Peter Masson from Wilder Research up here to tell us, to basically judge us with data. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Peter Masson.
We've seen progress on the affordable housing goals. More than 3,500 new and preserved affordable housing units have been produced since 2011, which is well on its way to the goal of 4,500 new units, new and preserved affordable housing units by 2020. The business mix along the corridor has remained stable since 2009. We have seen a little bit of decline in small businesses, particularly in the downtowns, but we've also seen some slight growth for mid-sized businesses along the corridor. Residential density along the corridor, all of those new housing units has allowed residential density to go up, along with population. The population of the corridor has grown 14% since 2010, so now more than 105,000 people live along the corridor.
I, first of all, agree that it is about community, not the commute, but I want to give a little love to the commute. Let me just throw a couple numbers at you. Since the Green Line opened, over 25 million people have taken a ride on the Green Line. We are at the level of ridership that we were projecting for the year 2030 already. In fact, the Green Line is really a microcosm of the Twin Cities of the future. And all you have to do is ride the Green Line to really fully appreciate that. Growing up in the Twin Cities, when I was a young kid, 2% of the population were people of color. We are well on our way to having 40% of the population be people of color in this community, and it is really embracing that cultural diversity is on full display every time you take the Green Line train from one point to another.
And when the mayor mentioned power as part of that word, it reminded me of something that Martin Luther King said when he talked a lot about power and had said our philosophers got it wrong when they described power as something that was negative. Power is the ability to make things happen. The power, the ability to change. But he also went on to talk about love and power. And all too often in forums like this, we don't spend enough time talking about love. And he went on to say that love without power is anemic. And power without love is reckless and abandoned. So you need those two things together. And we demonstrated that. We saw that, and I saw that again today in our politicians, our political leadership. but also in all of you all and all of the communities that help support to get us here. Now,
Thanks to all of you for this great work, for imagining and dreaming and getting it done on the corridor. And I know and you know there's a whole lot more to do, and that we're all going to leave here today and start doing it. So to all the future ideas and visions you have, keep them coming. Thank you for pushing the funders. Thank you for pushing government. Thank you for pushing all of us to do it right.